Hi, I'm Andrea Jenkins, and I'm fighting to be re-elected for the new seat of Leeds South West and Morley constituency. And I'm making this video to show you what I've done to stand up for Britain, the British people, and for common sense, and why I'm the Conservative voice you need representing you in Parliament. I've stood up and fought for what I believe is right, whether that's for Brexit, animal welfare, protecting our children's innocence, tougher policing, or scrapping net zero. As a council candidate, I was campaigning against political correctness and warning of its damage to free speech and our great British humour. And that was 15 years ago. And I was fighting for Brexit even before the word was invented. 9 years ago, I knocked one of the first bricks out of the Red Wall, beating the then Shadow Chancellor Ed Balls in a seat held by Labour for 85 years. I've stood up for animal rights against the government, and I was the only MP on the Health Select Committee not to support the regressive sugar tax. I believe people can make their own choices, aided with better parenting and better labour rights. 8 years ago, I campaigned hard for Brexit and was the MP coordinator for Yorkshire, fighting for our sovereignty and control of our borders. For nearly a decade, I've been calling for lower immigration, believing the current levels are unsustainable and detrimental to Britain. 7 years ago, I fought a gruelling election campaign with a 3-week-old baby in tow, 3 dogs, and I increased my majority, even with Theresa May in charge. I joined the Brexit committee from its inception and held the government to account on its Brexit backsliding, even quitting my government role in protest at its handling of Brexit to better fight with my fellow Brexit-backing MPs for our independence. I was one of the first MPs to publicly declare a vote of no confidence in Theresa May. And I was one of just 27 Spartans to vote against a sellout withdrawal agreement. I even asked her during Prime Minister's questions.
At what point it was decided that Brexit means remain?
Prime Minister!
And called on her publicly to resign, and she resigned a month later. I joined forces with Nigel Farage and Labour's Kate Hoey for the Leave Means Leave March for Brexit, and I've always been willing to put country before party on the key issues facing Britain. I was one of the first MPs to join the Defund the BBC campaign, running against a public broadcaster that has exposed its own bias for far too long. When in government, I was a whip trying to save Boris from the parliamentary witch hunt that brought him down. I stood up for free speech in our universities and challenged the trans and sex education for children as an education minister. I was one of 20 MPs to vote against the Windsor Framework, and I was one of the first MPs to say what a woman is, and I'm still amazed we need to say that. I was the first MP to call for us to leave the European Convention on Human Rights, and I even set up a petition urging the government to do this so we can control our borders. And I joined the Net Zero Watch Board to fight for a common sense approach to our climate policy. I'm outspoken, I'm as passionate as ever, and I'm proud of my country. And I'll continue to say what I think, stand by my convictions, and do all I can to represent you and fight for the interests of my constituents.